There are times when working in Salesforce when you need to see what you need to see. And so today we're going to talk about how we can set what are known as list views to allow you to see objects in different ways. We're going to talk about, first of all, what a list view is, and then we're going to talk about how to set a default list view, how to create a custom list view, and if you need to, how to delete a list view. All of that today on Blue Cloud University. Hello, Cloud Dwellers. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, as mentioned, we want to find ways when working in Salesforce to customize the views and the content so that we see what we need to see in order to do our jobs better. So today we're going to talk about list views, which allows us to see different objects based upon the criteria we need. I guess there's nothing better to do than just get started. Come on, let's go in. Now, when working in Salesforce, we may have a view like this one here. We're working in our sales app. We have access to different objects like our leads object, our opportunities object, files, accounts, etc. And if I were to come into any one of these objects and click on it, chances are what I'm going to see, especially if I have a new org that I'm working with, is a relatively easy view. It's going to say leads, and it's going to default to my recently viewed views. Now, currently, it says you haven't actually looked at any leads in here because your org is new and you're relatively new to the organization, let's say. If I click on this pull down here, it gives me an opportunity to look at a number of different list views. And for example, I might say, show me all of the leads we have currently in the system. Show me leads broken down by territory. Show me the ones that I've not seen, the unread leads. Show me the leads that have come in recently that I've viewed, or today's leads, right? So there's all these different things I can do. And if I go into all open leads, for example, what I will see are all of the leads that are in our organization. And this allows me, if I need to go through here and click on a specific lead, to drill into it. Now, the thing is I may not need access to all these leads, right? These may be other people's leads. And so in this case, I might want to determine which leads are best for me. Now, when we come up here, and every time I come in, it's going to jump into, in this case, all of my recently viewed. And you'll notice that next to the recently viewed, it says pinned list. What we can do, if there's a grouping or a list that we want to be able to see, we can make sure that that becomes our default view. So if I come in here and say, I always want to be able to see what today's leads are, right? We don't currently have any. But if I were to come in here, you'll notice there's a little push pin icon right next to this. And if I click on that, that will become my default view. So the next time that I come into leads for any reason, I click on it, it's always going to bring me into today's leads. Okay? So it's simply a matter of saying, hey, maybe you always want to see all open leads, so we pin that. Or maybe you have a special view, a custom, and you want to pin that. So whatever you pin is going to always be the default for you, and only you, when you come and are working in Salesforce. Now, let's say you want to change something and create a custom view. How do we do that? Well, let's go into all open leads for a second and get a sense of what we have in here. So we have the name of the lead person, we have the company they're with, we have the state they're from, their email, and what their current lead status is. So these are the different data points that make up our leads. Now, if we wanted to come in here and say, you know what, I don't need to see all the leads because my territory only extends to a few different states. And other people on the team may have to look at other leads, but I need to focus on those leads that say are in California. Those are my leads. So if I were to come over here and find this little gear icon, this is my list view controls. And in this case, it allows me, if I want to get rid of an existing list, I can do that. I can delete it. I'll show you how to do that in a few moments. I can also come and say, let's create a new view. And so the new view, it allows me to give it a name. I'm going to say California leads. These will be the ones that I use. And if I click on my API, it will just bring it down. It will make sure it has an underscore here to make sure it's all one solid string without any spaces. Now, who can see this list view? Perhaps I'm working with a team and I want to be able to share this list view with other members on my team, in which case I could send it out to a group of people if I identified who belongs to that group. Or I can make it just for me, which is what I'm going to do in this case. And I'm going to click on Save. So it's going to say, okay, so now if I go to California leads, it's going to say, here they are. But if you look in here, we have a lot of different states outside of the state of California that are being represented in here as well. So I might need to think about how can I narrow this down to get what I need to do. Over here on the right-hand side, you'll notice that there's a section here now that says filters. And right now it's filtering by owner and it's saying, okay, we're using my leads. But I can add an additional filter based upon the different data points that we have to work with here. So if I click on add filter, it's going to allow me to choose what I want to sort my new list by. And you can see there are a lot of things in here, a lot of different data points that we're not currently using in this list view. Now in my instance here, if I'm going to make it very simple, I'm going to come down, I'm going to choose state and province. And when I choose state and province, I'm going to tell it what I want the state and province to equal, or in this case, not equal or whatever. But in this case, we're going to try to use some logic that's going to make sense. I'm going to put the value of CA for California. That's going to be what I work with here. And I'm going to click on done. So now I have, okay, I'm working out a filter by who owns it. And as you can see, I'm the owner of all these leads by default because it's my org. And I'm going to filter down a little bit further to make sure that the state and province equals C and A. All right. And I could add additional filters if I wanted to really subdivide this and make it more granular. I don't. I'm going to simply come up here and click on the save button. And when I do that, it's going to go and run the filter on all of my records. And it's going to find within my leads those that belong in the state of California. All right. So now I've created a brand new, and let's pin this one. I'm going to click on my pin. So now every time I open up and come into my leads, let's say I'm a territory manager for California, I'm going to see those leads. So again, if I come in here and look at all of my open leads, I can do that. But now I can go and look at my California leads. If I want to jump in there, I can come down and look at today's leads if we have any. And again, if I leave here and I come back in the leads, it's always going to bring me into whatever my default is, which is my California leads, right? Now we can go, like I said, we can be much more granular. We can break it down by lead status. We can break it down by a number of things that in your organization might be useful. And by the way, there are other things we can do if we have an existing list view. We can clone it and make a copy of it. We could give it a new name if we need to do that, right? Maybe I start adding new things to my California leads. Maybe I come in here and say, you know what? Let me come in here and let's change this. I'm going to say the value is going to be California, but also turns out I'm the manager for Virginia and for the state of Connecticut. Probably not going to make much sense in the real world. But now by going in and changing the values here and clicking on save, I can now see all of the leads that fit that criteria. And I might come in and say, you know what? It turns out that California leads is no longer relevant here. So I'm going to say California, Virginia, and Connecticut leads. And we've run out of space here. That's one of the challenges here. So I'll just put in CT and we'll make sure we have what we need in here. There we go. And click on save. Anyway, the point is simply that we can come in here. If we need to change this lead title at some point in the future, we can do that. And finally, if I decide I no longer need this list view, again, I can go to my list view controls and I can come down here and I can select delete. And it's going to warn me, it's going to say, hey, if you get rid of this, then anyone who's using this will also lose access to it. Now, since I'm the only one who can see this, it's only going to affect me, so I don't care. In this case, I'm going to say delete, and now it's gone. And it's gone back to my recently viewed pin as my default. But if we come in here now, my California, Virginia, and Connecticut leads are no longer one of the list views that we have available to us. Now, like most things in Salesforce, the more you use them, the more intuitive these things get, and it's just going to be second nature to go in and customize these things. And again, make it so that it's easy for you working in Salesforce to see what you need to see and not have to step into somebody else's shoes and see what they need to see. And of course, there will be times when you want to share this content with other members of your team, and there'll be times when you just want to have something that you can reference to make your job a lot easier. Anyway, I hope this was valuable information for you and you found it easy to follow. And by the way, speaking of following, we would love to have you as a subscriber here at Blue Cloud University. Just click the button below somewhere and we'd be able to drop a video for you. We drop 2 videos every single week to help you be a stronger, better Salesforce user. Thanks so much for your time and attention, and I'll talk to you next time.